Well, good evening. Thank you for your patience. We had a closed session that went a little bit longer. And my name is Mayor Stewart, and I'm here to say that all of the City Council members are present in person. And Council Member Jan Marks, will you please do the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. City Attorney, can we have the closed session report out?
Thank you, Mayor. The council did meet in closed session on one matter of conference with legal counsel, on matter of anticipated litigation, consideration of initiation of one potential case, and there was no reportable action taken on that matter.
Thank you. Well, today we have two proclamations to present. We have the Recovery Month proclamation and then the Drive Electric Week proclamation. I will go ahead and read the Recovery Month proclamation first, and then Amanda Torrente, on behalf of Sun Street Centers, will have you come up front and get to share about your programs. So whereas the issues surrounding mental health and addiction recovery persist across all states in the country. However, there is hope that the situation can improve by providing greater access to treatment for individuals with alcohol and drug use disorders. Whereas recovery from addiction is achievable through effective treatment, enabling individuals to secure employment, own homes, and reunite with their families and communities. The key challenge lies in ensuring that treatment reaches all those in need within our community. In fiscal year 23, Sun Street Center's residential programs served 150 San Luis Obispo men, pregnant women, and single women at our different facilities in the city of SLO, Salinas, Hollister, and King City. Whereas in our community, alcohol and drug use disorders affect many individuals, but they do not have to face these challenges alone. Families are breaking the cycle of addiction and embracing recovery through support programs and counseling services. The men's residential program at Sun Street Centers in SLO provides clients with the essential resources, structure, and support to achieve sobriety from drugs and alcohol, empowering them for a successful recovery. Our community appreciates those in recovery, as well as the dedicated counselors and program staff who guide them toward a brighter future. Whereas I am asking all citizens of SLO to join me in celebrating this September as National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month. This year's theme, Join the Voices for Recovery Now, invites all of us to take immediate action to guide those in our community who need drug and alcohol treatment toward the promising path of recovery. Now, therefore, I, Erica A. Stewart, Mayor of the City of San Luis Obispo, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of September as National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month and encourage all community members to promote the benefits of drug and alcohol treatments and recovery to support community treatment programs.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much for declaring Recovery Month for Sun Street Centers in San Luis Obispo. My name is Amanda Torrente, and I'm the Program Director for Sun Street Centers Men's Residential Program in SLO. And it's an honor and privilege to stand here today to support the men in our community that are seeking residential recovery services. And I have two standing here with me that I want to share in a little bit. But I just want to say that I've worked in this field for 11 years, and the most recent 2 years, I opened this program 2 years ago here. And it's been honestly a big reward, and it's been very challenging, but it's been amazing. And I know for myself, if I didn't get clean and sober 12 years ago and enter a program, I wouldn't be able to stand here today and provide that hope to other people seeking the same desire to live a different life. So I have a couple men here that I would like to share a couple words that have been through Sun Street Center. So thank you.
Hello, and thank you for allowing me to be here. My name is Javier Herrera. I just want to thank you and take my credit for allowing me to get this opportunity right now. What Sun Street Centers has done for me is provided me with my relationship back with my mother. It's provided me with relationships with people that in the past that I've hurt. It's gotten me my head clear. It just made me realize how important these places are and the gifts that we do have in this county and that are available to us that we couldn't see out there traveling on the streets, and that there's people out there that really care, and I'm one of them. And like my boss had said here, but Amanda, we call her boss lady, but the staff over there is more than I could imagine. They always meet our every need. There hasn't been one time where I was struggling that there wasn't multiple people just helping me out when I thought I couldn't make it through the day. They provided me a chairman position, which helped me grow. My vocabulary has picked up dramatically. I know who I am now. I'm strong. It's been shown around. I feel great. And it's just truly a blessing. I don't know, I have a short time to tell you guys, but I really, really appreciate what you guys done for me, and I could speak for the rest of the people that weren't allowed to come today. But best believe, this is an awesome program, and I don't want to cry, but I really feel it in my heart, and I really appreciate you allowing me to say this. Recovery right here is the best program I've been in, and for that, I just thank you very much.
Hi, I'm a recovering drug addict. My name is Michael. I have been a resident of San Luis Obispo County for the past 36 years of my life, and I've been stuck in drug and alcohol addiction for pretty much 20 of that. Been a frequent flyer at the San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Department, the jail, and just like it was saying there, addiction affects everybody around us, including my family, the city that I live in, the people that work there, because there's so many hands that are being put at work because of the choices that I was deciding to make when I was out there using and abusing. And the fact that there's a place in San Luis Obispo County, I went there and things have just changed dramatically. Just like my addiction affected everybody around me, so does my recovery. I put everything I can into it because I didn't ever think that I was gonna really deserve the opportunity to get clean. And now that I do, I do anything it takes to keep that. And with that, coming to Sun Street, I was introduced to the recovery community that's in San Luis Obispo, the 12-step meetings and all that. And through that, my whole circle of people that I have in my life are all people from recovery. The person that I work for, the people that I live with, the people that are with me and my son, everything involves my recovery. And, I don't think that would have happened if I wasn't introduced not only to Sun Street, but also put in the work and took the action to actually want to change and do the things that I needed to do to get rid of that old life that I was living. I'm super blessed to be alive today, and I'm really glad that Recovery Month is going to be something that's going to be part of our county, because we'd like to recover out loud. It's possible. I'm coming up on 2 years. That's the longest that I've ever been clean, and I come back to Sun Street as much as I possibly can to show the newer guys that it's possible. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much. We were thrilled when this program opened up, and it's only a couple of years, and really just hope to see it expand, quite honestly, in our whole county. So thank you so much. So many awesome moments with the proclamations often are just inspirational. In a very different way, this is also an inspirational proclamation, is Drive Electric Week. This Drive Electric Week is September 27th through October 6th. Whereas motor vehicles are a key contributor to the world's climate crisis, with 29% of all greenhouse gas emissions in America coming from the transportation sector. The electrification of transportation is one of the most effective ways to help reduce climate pollution. California's innovative climate change policies are among the most aggressive in the nation, requiring all new passenger cars, trucks, and SUVs sold in California to be zero-emission vehicles by 2035. Locally, motor vehicles account for 47% of air pollution in SLO County. Mass adoption of electric vehicles is viable and a necessary step to meeting climate and air quality goals, as well as the GHG reduction goals of the city of San Luis Obispo. The city strives to be a leader in taking climate action and improving sustainability by mobilizing 8 zero-emission buses, installing more EV parking spaces, and creating more protected bike lanes and walkways and charging stations. The city will continue to demonstrate the sustainability values of leadership, collaboration, accountability, responsiveness, and fact-based initiatives as we move forward in the climate change fight. SLO Climate Coalition and the SLO County Air Pollution Control District are assisting the city and its residents to become carbon-free by organizing Drive Electric Week SLO events in our community. National Drive Electric Week is a nationwide celebration to raise awareness of the many benefits of all-electric and plug-in hybrid cars, trucks, motorcycles, and bikes. Now therefore, I, Erica A. Stewart, Mayor of the City of San Luis Obispo, on behalf of the entire City Council, hereby proclaim September 27 to October 6 as National Drive Electric Week in the City of San Luis Obispo. All community members are to join me in reaching our climate action goals and creating a better living through sustainable energy and electric transportation.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Mayor and City Council member, thank you very much for that proclamation and the enthusiastic support of Drive Electric Week over the years, and many of you drive electric already, and it's just fantastic working with the city on this. We have two specific events coming up during Drive Electric Week. One's at Farmers Market. Invite everybody to come there and see EVs on display and talk to drivers that are enthusiastic about driving electric. And I think this year you'll find out if you attend that event, you will find out that EVs are much more affordable than you think, especially used EVs with lower prices on used cars now, and all the incentives and rebates. It's amazing. And then on the 28th, we're returning to Madonna Inn to do our test drive, ride and drive event. And we'll have electric bikes, electric cars. We even have a Lucid Air. I've never even driven that myself, so I'm really eager. And then our own Mayor, Erica Stewart, is gonna talk to the attendees at noon. So come to one or both, and we'll see you there.
Hi, Mayor Stewart and City Council members. My name is Laura Albers. I am the Executive Director for SLO Climate Coalition and also a longtime resident of San Luis Obispo. So on behalf of the SLO Climate Coalition, I'd like to thank the city for your ongoing commitment to addressing climate change here at the local level. SLO Climate Coalition has enjoyed partnering with the city over many years as we both continue working diligently to champion high-impact regional climate solutions, reduce our carbon emissions, and build a more climate-resilient San Luis Obispo. Last year, with the support and partnership of the city of San Luis Obispo, SLO Climate Coalition hosted over 70 College Corps Fellows, engaged with nearly 4,000 people in discussions about climate change, participated in 25 tabling events, hosted 34 events, 3 webinars, 5 presentations on climate actions, and facilitated 18 resiliency workshops so community members can learn how to take individual actions to save money and reduce their carbon footprints. We also incorporated and became a 501c3 nonprofit organization this past year, which increases our opportunities for growth and fund development. National Drive Electric Week will kick off our upcoming programmatic year, with the transition to electric vehicles being one of the most impactful actions we can take as individuals, as businesses, and public agencies to reduce our carbon emissions and reach the city's goal of carbon neutrality by 2035. Each switch to an electric vehicle saves, on average, 11,500 pounds of carbon emissions. This upcoming year, SLO Climate Coalition will be focused on these most impactful actions we can take, including not only electric vehicle adoption, but also building electrification and engagement with our hard-to-reach community members. SLO Climate Coalition could not do the work we do without the city's continued and unwavering support, and we know that you feel the same about us. We're looking forward to another year of taking huge strides toward that vibrant, just, and climate-resilient San Luis Obispo that we all envision. So thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you out at one or both of our events coming up next week.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. And we have another exciting presentation today is Chief Todd Tuggle will be introducing our new fire marshal. And hold on, almost. No, I was saying to our new fire marshal.
Oh.
You were going to say a lot of good things about her first, right? Right. Oh.
You'll find that for all the wonderful things I have to say, there's plenty of time, even if she starts now, on making her way up here.
Okay. That's up to you.
Go ahead, come on up. Well, it is Mayor Stewart and Council. It is really my pleasure to introduce our Fire Marshal, Kim Rapp. This has been an exhaustive search, and I would say exhausting search as well. Our previous Fire Marshal retired in December. We started the recruitment in January, and then unfortunately it didn't go super well. And then we ran a recruitment again, and we are just absolutely jazzed to have Kim Rapp here. So Kim comes to us actually from Texas, but that was like a second stop. Originally worked for the Orange County Fire Authority, was looking for some challenges and went to Central Texas, just outside of Austin. Worked there for several years. So became a firefighter 2, got her firefighter 2 certification, Texas Peace Officer certification, intermediate arson investigator certification, and held the position of deputy fire marshal before coming back to California and eventually joining us here at SLO Fire. And I am absolutely thrilled. She's got 2 wonderful dogs who unfortunately couldn't join us tonight, Gunner and Halo. But with that, I'm proud to introduce our Fire Marshal, Kim Rapp.
Thank you. Mayor, I'm sorry. So, Madam Mayor and Council, I'm very grateful to be back in California, and I could not have wound up in a better place here than SLO. Just really looking forward to lending my expertise and my experience to help grow the development community, building communities, and just the citizens at large. And just very excited to be here and just looking forward to the new challenges. And
Thank you so much, and sorry I had to step out for a second there. Well, now we have the city manager report, and then after that, we're going to have a unique moment that is really loud, sorry, that we, at a special meeting on the 27th, decided as a council to try moving one of our reports up to the beginning of the meeting as a pilot program, which is our council liaison reports and communications. But we're not going to do that until we've actually gotten the update of who is on which committee, and it's presented on the agenda so you know what we're talking about. So just in case you were hoping that was going to be done first, it's still going to be done last. All right, city manager.
Thank you. Happy to jump into a few updates for everyone. And of course, really love all the presentations this evening. Very, thankful for Sun Street Center coming out, and the really people sharing their stories is incredibly moving, and helps remind us all of what we're all here to support. And of course, our new fire marshal is already out making a lot of relationships with people and doing amazing work already with the development community and folks that she works with every day. So we're incredibly happy for her to be here as well. Just wanted to say thank you for those highlights. We wanted to showcase for everyone that our Office of Sustainability and our Office of Mobility will be partnering to participate in the Electrify Your Life EV Showcase, which of course also keys into our SLO Climate Coalition, who we heard from earlier, at our farmers market on September 26th from 6 to 9 p.m. This event will take place on the block of Broad Street between Higuera and Monterey, and Our electric vehicle owners will display their cars and share the joys of driving electric vehicles with anybody who stops by. Information booths will have detailed information about electric vehicles, how to discover and obtain discounts, the financial incentives and tax credits that might be available, and ways that you can electrify your life at home as well as on the road. Slow Transit will also have one of our electric buses on display, and we'll be promoting its Downtown Access Pass, which provides downtown employees with a free bus pass. So we want to make sure everybody's aware of that as well. Next, we are highlighting some outreach that our solid waste and recycling team are doing. So our program has contracted with a local company called Wise Studios to create 3 outreach videos for the community. These videos will provide the public with tips for waste reduction, how to use our food waste pails, and how to avoid recycling contamination. I'm sure if you're like me, you feel like you never quite know if what you're putting into the recycling bin is going to fully make it to where you're intending it to go and be recycled. And so having these videos are one way that we're trying to help people stay informed and know, make sure that we're complying with the rules and not doing something that we might not intend to. The videos will be released on our social media platforms and on local television channels as well. For more information about trash and recycling, or to watch the videos before they're posted on social media, you can find them on our website at slowcity.org/recycle or on our own YouTube channel. Next, we wanted to share some messaging around Cal Poly's back to school time. I'm sure folks are probably seeing the changes that are occurring right now. We're happy to welcome back our Mustangs to Cal Poly for the 2024-25 academic year. There's a lot of activities occurring starting this week. Today and tomorrow include our freshman or new student move-in on campus, so people can expect increased vehicle congestion near campus. The week of welcome, or called WOW Week, begins tomorrow and runs for a week. So you see a lot of activities going on there as well. September 20th through 22nd, then continuing students will return to campus during that time frame, and then a first day of class is on September 23rd. So just trying to alert everybody to the activities going on there as students come back to campus. Also wanted to remind everybody that per city ordinance, we do have our safety enhancement zone activated beginning midnight tonight, ending Monday, September 30th at 7 a.m. And during that time frame, fines are doubled for certain identified nuisance activities that includes drinking infractions, unruly gatherings, and drunken public. So we want to make sure everybody is having a safe and a good time that is done safely and in a way that creates the least kind of disturbance to our community. We're happy everybody is back or really coming to our community for the first time. I'm sure they'll fall in love with it just like everybody else has, and so we want to make sure everybody's safe. Of course, feel free to call, or please do call SLO PD for assistance at 781-7312, and then of course 911 if anything is happening that needs immediate attention. I also wanted to highlight, I'm sure some people, folks have received a flyer as well. This is something our police department puts out just to let people know, remind everybody what types of activities are considered to be good neighbor activities, including parking in the appropriate areas, meaning not on a front lawn or anything like that, making sure we're quiet after 10 p.m. and that we do have noise standards that are in place, and making sure, trash cans and trash are put away as necessary. A lot of us do remember what it's like to be young, and at the same time, we still want to make sure we're all being safe and creating a really welcoming neighborhood environment. Next, we wanted to highlight some activities going in our Parks and Rec department. Our community partners at SLO YMCA are currently holding registration for our winter youth basketball program. This exciting and instructional league is open to ages K through 8th grade. So please register at the YMCA website at sloymca.org. or contact our Parks and Rec department for more information. Games will be beginning in January with practices starting earlier in that month. And then finally, we wanted to just remind everybody of some changes to our user fees. Actually, I think that should just say user and regulatory fee changes that will be, oh no, impact fees as well, that are occurring on October 1st. So every year we do an adjustment to our fee amounts. Our user and regulatory fees will change as we adopted through a comprehensive rate adjustment or fee adjustment back in July. We delayed the implementation of those till October for a number of reasons, largely to make sure that our systems were able to be updated and running correctly when we apply the fees. And so that's happening on October 1st. Any fees that were increased by 50% and at least $10 will be phased in to ease the impact of the increases. Half of the increase will occur October 1st, with the other half occurring next year, July 1st. We did make an adjustment to impact fees by the California Construction Cost Index. They went up slightly, about 1.25%. Those will become effective on October 1st as well. That's a normal process we go through every year. We just delayed it a bit this year to have it coincide with the user and regulatory fees. So if anybody has any questions about that and needs more information, go to slocity.org/fees, and there's a lot more available there. And with that, that's it from my report this evening.
Thank you so much. That's a lot of information. Any questions? All right, we'll move forward. Next, we have public comment for items that are not on the agenda. If you have anything you'd like to ask or comment on, this is the time. And City Clerk, do we have any speakers?
Yes, we do. We have two speakers. The first one is Scott Collins and then James Aaron.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Scott Collins, Executive Director for the Housing Authority San Luis Obispo, and just wanted to come and thank this incredible council support for our Anderson rehab project, which is going to be officially over next week, and then it becomes the real deal. So your financial support made this possible. We're going to be opening, like I said, at the end of this month, 66 permanent supportive housing units. Desperately needed in our community for those who are homeless or are facing homelessness and those who have other special needs. We should be truly proud of this 100% community supported project, right? $50 million of revenue came in to support this project from every corner, city, county, Congressman Carbajal, tax credits, the state. For a community of our size, that is showing extreme effort and willingness to push the rock up the hill on a very challenging issue. We literally have cities in our state talking about banning the addition of new permanent supportive housing or shelters in their community, okay? So this city has shown leadership through and through on this project. We greatly appreciate your support, but also your city staff support going through this very challenging project, both from the construction side of things and getting the permits for it, but also in helping our neighbors, because it was very trying for them with the removal of parking and other challenges, and they've been extremely patient with us, and we greatly appreciate that, and your staff was great. So we really just want to extend our thank you for being leaders on this issue. And again, we're serving the most vulnerable. We know what that looks like, and we heard from some folks earlier tonight about addiction. We will be taking on a lot of people who have those, and getting housed is really a first step to recovery. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you. We're excited for next week.
Jim Aaron.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to speak today. I'm Jim Aaron, I'm a 30-year-plus trail builder for the city and our local trail building group, 3CMB. I'm here to comment on Laguna Bike Park. I recently surveyed the work that's been doing there, and I want to say up front, I totally support our city rangers and the trail work they've done. They've built us some beautiful trails. I was involved in building the Ukes starting in 2008, and I think Mayor Marks was the mayor at the time. She allowed us to build the Ukes, and it's been a fabulous success. The reason I'm here to talk about Laguna Bike Park is that back in 2008, when we first came to you, to the mountain bike community saying, please, can we build some fun stuff? Please, can we have a crumb, please? And we got a crumb, and we made a nice cake out of it. Laguna Bike Park needs a little bit more. The cross-country loop that was built for the cross-country mountain bike high school team is excellent, but the pump track that is there now is not a pump track. It's not really anything. So the reason I wanted to speak today was to put down a marker and say, according to the city, this is a test facility and it'll be evaluated on the test. But if we're evaluating something that's not right to begin with, the evaluation will be false. So I'm here to put down a marker and say that this is not a pump track. This is not what the community really wants. It's no one's fault. It just is not right. And I'm also here to ask for a couple other things. When we petitioned to build the Ukes, we had a memorandum of understanding with the city to allow myself and some of the leaders to, build and keep building. I had a motorcycle accident in 2018. I was out of the whole thing for like 2 years. When I came back, 3CMB had given the MOU rights back to the city, and now the city controls the Ukes. The Ukes it was never finished. It was a 3-phase plan, and I'm here also to ask the city to possibly fund or direct the Park Service to complete the Ukes and add more features to keep it growing and more lively. It's the most popular cycling destination in the county, I believe, possibly right behind Montana Oro. The point I'm making is that other communities around the country are building amazing bike parks. Bentonville Arctic, Truckee Bike Park. So I would like the city to be more active in promoting the bike parks and helping the mountain bike community, which is not represented. 3CMB represents and has a great relationship with the city, but they do not represent all the cyclists. And there is a segment of cyclists that are not represented, and that would be the downhill crowd. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much. One thing that I do want to, before you leave, one thing I do want to remind the community is that at the end of this year, we will have those surveys that go out for like, what are we going to do with the budget for the next couple of years? I really encourage you to put the input in that, and then also get out to the Parks and Rec Commission too. So we'll have opportunities for people that have any issues, and not any issues, but any solutions and desires to change things in our community. That comes up in this next 2 years in changing our major city goals and our plans and our work plans and our budget. So just want to give that out in case people have other really cool ideas they want to have us look into. So thank you. All righty, well, we will, Vice Mayor Pease.
Sure. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to that Housing Authority for the management of the Anderson Hotel project. It's not unlimited budget, and I just think the prioritization to be able to get that project accomplished and ready to go. You can't do everything, but they absolutely did the critical pieces, and it just turned out to be a beautiful project. And I know the residents in our community are grateful for that. So thank you.
Well said. It's been quite a project, and as mentioned, the neighbors have gone through a lot, but really appreciate the continual communication. Awesome, so we're going to move forward to the consent agenda. I do have one thing that I don't necessarily need to pull it, but I do want to make a point about it that I think we don't have to make a change on. Anything that anyone else would like to pull? Nope, okay. I just have on item 6D, the interns/volunteers. The one thing that's missing in the change of wording is the volunteer application that we've always had volunteers do. So since interns are volunteers, I believe they still need to complete an application. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's in the.
Sorry, City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we did circulate an agenda correspondence with an additional sentence that includes essentially the form, the volunteer form that includes a waiver. So that's the additional sentence that we are recommending that we add to that language. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Sorry, I missed that agenda for correspondence. I read Chief Chuggles and didn't read that one. Councilmember Schwarzman.
Yeah, just wanted to mention that there had been some agenda correspondence on item 6C too, and that was based on a question that I asked. 6C was the California Taft water line replacement project, and I had asked based on some, over time, a fair number of emails asking for some safer crossing options while we wait for the roundabout, which is continuing to kind of be a little bit further off. There's really no safe way to cross, something that feels safe to cross California between Taft and Foothill. And so I had asked about the possibility of adding some sort of alternate language to the RFP to try and propose a safer crossing in the interim, a quick build type of solution. And I do appreciate staff's response, which was ultimately that probably right now with this RFP is not the best time, but that a good time to bring it up would be as we approach the 2025-27 financial planning process and see, or possibly when we get further along with the roundabout, depending on which comes first. That there might be an opportunity to do that. So I just wanted to give voice to that since I have over time had community members express their concerns about the feelings of safety crossing California from the wonderful separated bike path that is on the one side of the street, but lots of neighborhoods and intersections on the other side of the street. So just wanted to say that out loud so people knew that I had asked the question.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Marks.
After public comment, I'd like to move approval of the consent agenda.
Great, thank you. Do we have any public comment, City Clerk?
No, we do not.
Okay. Councilmember Marks.
Watch out.
I know.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Stewart. I'd like to move the consent agenda, approval of all items, 6A, B, C, D, and E.
Thank you, Councilmember Schwarzman.
I'll second that.
Wonderful. Can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Marks? Yes. Councilmember Schwarzman?
Yes.
Councilmember Francis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pease?
Yes.
Mayor Stewart?
Yes, and the consent agenda passes 5-0. Thank you so much. And we'll move forward to the business at hand. The next topic we have is the Fire Department Strategic Plan. And for everyone who works on these strategic plans, these are not binders that we put on a shelf. These are things we really look at, we ask to be updated, we come back to, and the community holds us accountable to them. So thank you for the whole fire department to be able to come together and make this happen. Chief Chuggle, I'll hand it off to you.
All right. A little distracted by making sure the technology is working. All right. Do we have that up and running correctly? Are we good? Oh. There we go. All right. Well, good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Thank you for the time this evening. I know we have a busy council session, and so I appreciate the time. It's my intent tonight to go through the strategic plan for the fire department for the 24 through 29, or 2024 through 2029. We're going to take this in 3 separate chunks. We're going to talk about wrapping up the 2018 to 2023 strategic plan. Then we'll talk about the process by which we came to the 2024 to 29 plan. And then lastly, I'll cover at a fairly high level the 6 initiatives of the current plan with some description of the goals and the tasks. You have the agenda, or you have the agenda packet, which has the actual strategic plan. So if there are specific initiatives, goals, tasks, maybe even the formatting of the strategic plan that may need a little bit of adjustment, we'll have time at the end for questions. It's also my intention to make this presentation relatively short to leave time at the end for questions and discussion. All right, so the 2018 to 23 strategic plan, there was 5 initiatives. It was originally delivered in 2018 as a receive and file document, and it was outlining the department's efforts at framing the mission of the department and articulating the vision for service methodology. In reaching these value-based statements, the department assembled 5 strategic directions that you have before you. I don't need to necessarily read them one at a time, but I'll give you highlights amongst each of them. In connecting with our community, it was looking at enhanced website functionality, handouts, videos, social media. It was the first time we really got into social media. We also developed what was referred to as Fire Ops 101. You may see it in the current strategic plan as the Public Safety Academy, which I see a smiling face at the dais because got to participate in that, Councilmember Francis. And it's really designed around the idea of getting folks, getting our stakeholders very familiar with the job of being a firefighter. Goal 2 is continuously evaluating our programs and developing relationships within the county, among them the Fire Safe Council. We created a year training plan. We went from 7,164 hours in 2018 to over 23,000 hours of training in 2023. So really refining the abilities of our firefighters. And then a big one was improving labor relations. Goal 3, analyzing the relevant data. And in that, we're developing a fleet replacement schedule. And during that time, and it was also looking at the workload. During that time, our workload went from 6,000 calls a year to over 7,000. Goal 4 was improving the organizational culture, really labor management being a big chunk of that. Goal 5 was about fiscal sustainability. And so overall, we made a lot of progress in that 5-year window. And a couple of highlights that I want to talk about are labor management, or just mention are the labor management relationship. And I think that is really a collaboration between HR, management, and then the labor group as well. And such that we've been able to, I think last year's negotiations are a good indicator of that relationship. They were relatively quick. They were relatively painless, and I think everybody feels that both sides came out as benefiting from that process. We developed an equipment replacement fund, and then a big accomplishment is that from 2019 to 2023, we were able to reduce our work comp injury hours by over 53%. And that was through a health and wellness program that started in that strategic plan, and we'll talk more about its continuation in this one. So with that progress and momentum, we enter into the next 5-year iteration of our strategic plan. All right. So for the 2024 strategic plan, the main effort is about aligning the organization towards the major city goals, the city's mission, and the mission, vision, and values of the department. It helps us keep our eye on the ball. And without a strategic plan, oftentimes, I think as everybody knows, we can chase the shiny object that's in front of us. And so this strategic plan allows us to align our efforts with the efforts of the city and the community as a whole. All right, so the process. So how did we get to this point? So this was started under my predecessor, Chief Agson, started in 2022. We got drafts of it about 6 months after his retirement in the middle of 23. We were originally going to come before you in the spring, and We had some pretty significant staffing changes above my level during that time, which pushed us out to here. The strategic plan process involved an open government survey, OpenGov survey, town hall meetings, and internal meetings. We received external feedback from our community as well as internal feedback from our staff throughout the ranks of the department, sworn, non-sworn, and administrative staff. And what we largely found, or what we found in many cases, is that the effort, the objectives, or the input from the external and internal stakeholders really aligned in many cases. Things like homelessness, demand for services, our wildfire threat, and growth were all in alignment across all the stakeholder groups. All right, so where are we at here? Okay. Did you get a new slide that popped up? Okay, there we go. All right, I already covered that one. So we're gonna skip ahead. There's only 13 slides and we're 5 through, so we're doing pretty good. All right, so the strategic plan, so the third part of our presentation. So in the outreach that was conducted, we ended up with 6 strategic initiatives, and you have those before you. Those initiatives provided the framework for 22 goals and 149 individual tasks that we will attempt to achieve over the next 5 years from our internal and external. We're to fulfill the requests of our internal and external stakeholders. So the first strategic initiative is community-focused service, and the idea here is to continuously improve our service capability and refine that capability. So as the community needs change or the community grows, that we're able to meet those needs. One of the things that we've known about and we are aware of is that we do have longer than adopted response times in total. And largely those are coming from an area of town that is outside of our 4-minute response time. We are aware of that. We're seeing growth in that area with the Avila Ranch, Margarita area specific plan, and airport area specific plans. And so we are aware that growth is going on and that we need to be looking out towards how are we going to provide that service. We are looking at the MCU and the MCU deployment and integrating that into our larger EMS delivery of service. So things like triage to alternate destination, community paramedicine, and holistically integrating mental and behavioral health resources into our EMS delivery is part of our effort. And then a comment that came up multiple times for not only our internal but our external stakeholders, I'm sure something you may hear regularly is we always have to send a big red fire truck to medical calls. And so we have been evaluating where the MCU and maybe a EMS unit in particular can take some of that load off. In particular, truck 1, which is getting tired, I will say. So the overall initiative is about providing efficient and effective response to the needs through our strategically located resources. All right, community or strategic initiative number 2. So one of the things we've seen is we are in a generational shift in the fire department. So we've had extreme amounts of turnover. We have 45 firefighters on the force. 30 of them are new in the last 5 years. So we have an incredible generational shift going on, and we will continue to see retirements in the next few years as we hire a new workforce and train them. So empowering them with professional development and training is of the utmost importance. Also, part of that is to make San Luis Obispo Fire Department a more welcoming and inclusive organization, and developing programs and policies that support the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives of the city. The city's DE&I task force includes making sure that we have appropriate accommodations for our firefighters. We've also started an intern program that we launched in the spring. We had over 100 applicants for the 6 functional areas of the department. We were able to bring 4 of those interns in. 3 of them were Cal Poly students. 1 was a SLO High graduate, and they are working in the mobile crisis unit, emergency management, helping with evacuations. 1 of them helped to develop a defensible space and home hardening program framework, which we're taking. bless you, which we are taking to the city attorney's office to review how we can act on that. And that is actually a climate action safety element item. And then the last one is a Slow High graduate. She graduated 2 years ago and is helping out in the fire shop as assisting with our light fleet vehicle maintenance. So we're very proud of the work we've done on that intern front. And we're excited to hopefully turn that into new hires in the suppression realm as well. Third is health and wellness. So we saw that in the last strategic plan. We saw some incredible reduction in our work comp injuries, an improvement in the overall health and well-being of our department. In this strategic plan, it's really about 3 different areas. One is the administrative piece of it, working with CJPIA to help us both fund and also build some good health and wellness programs. The second one, and also including what we call, it's called an NFPA 1582 and the agenda correspondence. I'm glad to hear you actually read that, Mayor Stewart. I'm excited about that. I do go into some detail about what 1582 is, but effectively it has to do with annual physicals for our firefighters. We were able to implement that this year, and so we had industry best practice physicals offered not only for our firefighters, but also for our non-sworn prevention staff too. And that includes a blood screening and also a full 12-lead EKG while doing a treadmill. So that was a big win for us. The second part of it has to do with reducing exposure to carcinogens while fighting fires and a training program around that. And then the last piece is the mental health component. So one of the things that I'll add to this slide is that in the last couple of years, the number of firefighter fatalities has been a little over 200. About half of those have been from suicide-related or suicide incidents. So about half of our firefighters each year that are passing are coming from suicide. So mental health is a big issue in the law enforcement world. The numbers are actually slightly higher from suicide. So mental health is absolutely something that's of importance to us as responders, but the city has also been extremely supportive of that to invest resources in TCTI, which was also in the agenda correspondence. That's the Counseling Team International, which allows us to do completely anonymous, completely confidential interactions with mental health professionals that are dedicated to first responder mental health, not just in general population. So it's a really good relationship that we've developed, and HR has been a very big part of advocating for that. Number 4 is emergency preparedness, and this is both to the community, but also within our staff. We've made huge strides in the last few years. James Blattler, our former emergency manager, who we can't seem to replace, did unbelievable work in training up the staff, developing our policies and procedures, developing the relationships, and then in his last year here, we opened the EOC 3 times while he was here. So we were able to put it to use. Part of the effort in this strategic plan is about community education and really working towards developing awareness around wildfire. And so we're also working very hard, which is also being an additional initiative around wildfire preparedness, around home hardening, defensible space, and things like that. But our emergency preparedness is strategic initiative number 4. And moving on to initiative number 5 is community risk reduction. So this is about looking at our community as a whole and assessing the risks within it, mitigating those risks as best as we can, and then preparing ourselves for the eventual emergencies and disasters. A couple of high notes within this are developing pre-plan programs, which are currently underway for our open space and wildland areas, our interface areas. Proactive and effective defensible space, fuel mitigations and defensible space was in here. We started a weed abatement program 2 years ago. It was, the first year was a little rough. We got through it. This year was very smooth. We had 90 lots that were identified. They were all completed by August, which was 60 days after the date of compliance, which was June 1st. Well, we considered that a success. We didn't have to lien any properties, and we didn't have to contract any of the work. All of it was done by the property owner, so that was a big win for us. Over the last year, we've developed a vegetation management committee between Office of Sustainability and the Rangers and the Fire Department. This last month, we submitted a planning grant with the Coastal Conservancy to update our community wildfire protection plan and hopefully put us in a position to ask for grants on actually doing vegetation management throughout the city. And then lastly is providing, under community risk reduction, is providing information to our homeowners regarding wildfire insurance and proactive measures that our homeowners in our community can take to hopefully improve their insurability as well as reduction of rates. That is a very fluid situation right now within the state. And if you want to ask more questions, I'd be more than happy to talk about that in more detail at the end. And the last one is really leveraging as much as possible the technology and data that's out there. We've had several efforts in the last 2 years with regards to digitizing our data management systems for our fire response. Our learning management system has been completely digitized, and we actually can send assignments out to our workforce. We've implemented Asset Works in the fleet, so we actually have 100% accountability of the time spent on repairs. We just initiated a inventory management system called PS Tracks, which will hopefully allow us to schedule out and have a much better view towards the replacement schedules and replacement cycles of our inventory. And then the last a question that was in the agenda correspondence was Tablet Command, and that's really an interface for us in the field for the volumes of data that's available to our responders. And Tablet Command's a streamlined version of that for our personnel and to assist with accountability as well. And then one last thing on technology and data, and it's quite apropos with the Slow Climate Coalition, is we've been making strides, albeit slowly, towards carbon neutral efforts for the city by 2035. We did implement our first electric vehicle, so we did replace the fire marshal vehicle with an all-electric Ford Lightning. And I'm very proud to say, and I will flip to the slide for that. Where is it? Come on, 13. It's not the best picture. I'm a little disappointed, but I will have to say we did demo a hybrid fire engine. There's only 2 available in the United States, 2 versions of it, 2 models. We were able to demo it here in the city. I wish I had the picture of our deputy city manager riding in it, but the look on his face was just pure joy, and I wasn't sure if he entirely wanted me to share that. But we did demo it. We do have a much better view of what it would take to implement one of these. They are about double the cost of a normal fire engine, and they do require a pretty significant infrastructure upgrade to support the charging component of it. They are hybrids. They are not all electric, but they do run on all electric for about the first 45 minutes to an hour before the diesel engine kicks in and the hybrid takes over. But I'm really excited about that. It was it was a really great opportunity, a good turnout from a bunch of folks within the city. And to wrap up today, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank specifically, and I'm sure she's listening, our admin specialist, Mika Timpano, who put this slideshow together, and our budget analyst back here, Nicole Vert, who helped put together a lot of the numbers, and our fire marshal, who helped do a lot of the work. So thus far of this strategic plan, we've been working on it the last about year. We've completed 8 of the goals, or the tasks, I should say. No, I take that back. Goals. We've completed 8 of the goals. 37 are in process, and 102 are yet to be started. So we do still have a lot of work, but we have gotten some work started. And with that, hopefully I left plenty of time for questions, but that does conclude the presentation portion of this, and I'm available for questions, suggestions, additions, subtractions, or recommendations.
Thank you so much for the brief but thorough report. We have 2 hours of questions, so don't worry. Councilmember Francis.
Yeah, thank
Thank you so much for a really easy to read strategic plan. I really appreciated it. And it was a ton of really good information in there. Right at the end, you had mentioned some of the goals and tasks that had already been completed. And I'd actually had a question if there was any sort of plan to include a matrix that kind of serves as a way to signal prioritization, responsible parties, and progress. Thinking about future updates to this plan, what's it going to look like? How are we going to know what's already done and what's in progress? And so we can, cheer on how much work you've gotten done.
Well, thank you for the optimism and cheering it on. It's something it's something we've started working on internally. We have Microsoft Planner, one of our city software packages, and we actually have all of the goals, the initiatives, the goals, and the tasks built out into there. So internally, we can see that. It's actually part of our monthly admin meeting where we actually review and see where we're at with things. I will need to look at how we can do that public facing. We tried it with this application and we were not very successful in just getting it out internally. So I think that's something that we can maybe add to the technology and data portion, is how can we turn that public facing? Is that kind of what you're hoping to get accomplished?
Yeah,
just to see
I
progress?
know like in our climate goals, we kind of can see which ones are in progress, kind of the target dates for others, and kind of thinking about mimicking that sort of model so that we have some continuity from all the different strategic plans that we have. It'd be great for the public and for us just to kind of be able to see that progress.
Okay.
And then a little bit earlier, you had mentioned that we could ask follow-up questions about property insurance issues. So
absolutely,
I just wanted you to maybe put a little bit more color. I know it's a question we get all the time from constituents. What's being done on this? What's the progress? Is there hope that folks who are really struggling to get insurance right now are going to have a smoother path in the future?
Yes. So as I mentioned, it is very fluid. Not only is it fluid, but it's fairly convoluted and complicated. However, I'll do my best to try and encapsulate it. So the big issue for the insurance companies is the losses have far exceeded the premiums. And so they are backing out in droves. And so this year has been about figuring out how the California insurance market can get insurers back into the state. And in order to do that, they've had to do some pretty significant changes. One of the big hurdles is Prop 103 from back in the late 80s, which really constrains the rates that insurance companies can charge. They can only charge, they can only do a 7% increase per year, which in the last 10 years has really created some challenges with the major losses that they've seen. What we are seeing happen this year is that there is a review of how risk is assessed within different areas and parts of the state. So that part has been approved to move forward. There is a redistribution of the risk throughout the state such that insurers have to take on a certain percentage of their properties have to be within the high risk areas. And then the last part that's we're hoping to see a little bit more movement on, and we've been working with Natalie Harden in the city manager's office to be a part of the push to allow parcel level mitigations to impact positively the insurability and the affordability of rates. So that is a little bit loose right now. What that means in normal terms is, if you have a house that's in the WUI, in other words, a wildland urban interface, and you do all of your work to do defensible space, you do your 0 to 5, you do your 30 or your 5 to 30, and your 30 to 100 feet clearances, you buck your trees up, you have a non-combustible zone to 5 feet, you do everything you're supposed to do, and you put a non-combustible roof and non-combustible side, you do all your things. That should have an impact on your insurability. And right now, there is no linkage between those two. You could do everything you can, and there's no real well-defined linkage between your efforts and your insurability or affordability. So that is one of the pieces that is in the process of being stitched together right now, is that by lowering risk, does that increase your insurability and affordability? That's the thing that we are hoping to see. In addition to that, there's community-wide effort. So there's parcel level mitigations, which is what you and I or a homeowner can do. There's community level mitigations such as maintaining our open space, maintaining our creek beds, the grazing operations that are underway in Bob Jones Trail as we speak. There's those pieces which are community level. And so what we're hoping to see happen is to see that the recognition of those risk reduction activities is a factor in how insurance companies price their properties. So that's kind of the long and short of it. We expect to see by the end of the year that we'll see some publications from the California Department of Insurance on the specifics of that. And so to your original question, is there hope? We hope that we'll have hope here in the near future, but we do know there will be some pretty significant changes coming down.
Well, thank you for the really comprehensive answer on that. Kind of circling back around to the critical tasks. I had a question as I was going through. I know that not all of the critical tasks are necessarily new tasks. Some of them are things that you've already been working on. And is there any way that in this strategic plan we can signal to the public what's new versus what's a continuation of existing trainings, programs, et cetera? Just so we can kind of see like, oh, where's innovation happening and where is this like continuation of best practices that have been going on for a long time?
Okay, absolutely, we can make that distinction. I think one of the things that maybe a slight clarification I'd like to make is just when we do like industry best practices, we would be coming like up to that level. So if we're already doing them, they probably are not going to end up in the strategic plan. However, if we're not achieving that, then that would be something that we would put in the strategic plan as an effort to improve. But I can definitely make a distinction in the strategic plan on things that are continuation from the previous plan and then moving forward. I will say one thing that I just noticed today is not in the strategic plan is labor relations. And I think that's actually a positive thing. So while it was in the 2018-23 plan, it was not in this plan. And so I think what that signals to everybody is, and to the labor group included, is that we've operationalized that such that we don't need to call it out anymore. So that's a good thing. And I'm actually pretty excited about that. And we have a labor management meeting next Wednesday where we have some good topics to discuss. So, but I have that as a note to distinguish between what is new in this plan versus what is something that's a continuation from the previous plan.
Yeah, that's really excellent news about labor relations. And I don't know in practical terms if that's actually going to be an easy thing for you to signal the new tasks versus the old ones, but I found myself asking questions a lot like, oh, I kind of thought they were already doing that. And it would be great to see where that was called out.
Absolutely. Yeah. In the previous plan, we did not finish everything. So some of those things were either unachievable or were carried forward. So that's a good distinction to make. Thank you for bringing that up.
Excellent. I'll turn it over to my colleagues for now.
Thank you. Councilmember Marks.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is a really interesting report, really great strategic plan. I have a few questions. One I already brought up at agenda review, but I'm going to bring it up here in the dais again. And that has to do with the MCU. It's a wonderful program. It's having a lot of great success. And I'm just curious why in the strategic plan you're sticking with the Monday through Friday model rather than extending it to the weekends or the early morning hours. It's great that it's being integrated into the EMS delivery, which is 24/7. But I'm just curious if there's any way you could consider it somehow, at least an aspiration in the strategic plan.
Certainly. And so the reason we don't do it now is just a staffing limitation. We do recognize that behavioral health emergencies happen at all hours. They happen 24/7, 365, just like medical emergencies or fire emergencies do. It was initially built out as a pilot program, thankfully through the support of the council, and we've seen that wild success of it. We also know that, there's hours we're missing, and, I attended a meeting today regarding an emergency or regarding an event that happened on a weekend. So I think that, if the direction is to expand that out, we can definitely include that. I think we're going to include technology as our strategic plan that Councilmember Francis brought up. We're going to include that as an item. I think we can add to it an assessment of what it would look like to expand that staffing and expand that resource within the confines of the MCU role. And I can think off the top of my head some opportunities to look into that and report back to you on those ideas and how we might achieve that expansion.
So I think that's a good thing for them to explore. Yeah, I see some heads nodding here. Okay, my other question has to do with Firehouse Station number 5. And you brought that up kind of tangentially when you were talking about response time not being what you would like in this southerly part of the city.
Yeah.
And so that brings up the question of planning for Firehouse Station number 5. Now, I realize that's a capital project, and in many ways that's outside the purview of what you're doing here with the strategic plan. On the other hand, it's going to take a lot of time and effort and thought on the part of your staff and you to put it together. So I'm curious why that hasn't, because we're talking about a five-year plan, right? So I'm just curious why you haven't included that planning for station number 5.
So I think the specific task of adding it, or the goal of adding it, was really based on the idea of not really at the time of the development of this plan understanding what exactly was going to happen with the plans that were in place in the southern portion of the city. Now, since the time of the development of this plan, we've seen Alva Ranch move forward quite rapidly to the point where they are having discussions about reaching their 50% plus one threshold, where their development agreement would kick into gear additional staffing levels, which doesn't specifically include Station 5, but it signals towards additional staffing and resources in the southern portion of the city as part of their agreement. So there is a lot of work being done on looking out towards when does the development in the southern portion of the city get us to building out Fire Station 5. I think with the amount of work that's going on down there and the amount of planning efforts that are happening, I agree with you. We need to be planning quite a bit on what that is going to look like. We didn't put it in the plan specifically because we didn't really know what the parameters were going to look like. So as you mentioned, I did reference it tangentially because we don't really know what the end goal is going to look like or what that timeline is going to look like. So
do you think you might, in the next 5 years, have a little more clarity?
Definitely yes, absolutely, ma'am.
So I would just suggest putting it in there as kind of a placeholder. You figure out how to do it, but just that it will take time. I'm not sure which one of your 5 areas it would fit into, but I think at least starting with you've got your relatively new workforce there, starting them thinking about that kind of on the back burner would be a good idea, because I feel it would be really important to have the firefighters themselves participate in that whole planning process, so it really reflects the needs that you would have, practically speaking, as a firefighter. So
that's a great point, and it's a great learning opportunity. And I think the last fire station that was built in the city was going all the way back to 1976, I think, was when the 4th station, 72. So it's been a long time.
I don't know. That was even before my time. So yeah. Okay. Thank you.
It's been a long time. Thank you for that, though.
At least there was some remodeling in between then. Councilmember Schwarzman.
Sure hope so. Thank you. Yes, a great, ambitious, very full strategic plan. You have your work cut out for you. The whole team does. And congratulations on the 53% reduction in workers' comp issues. That's huge. And I appreciate seeing that there's going to be continued work in that area. You mentioned community paramedicine and alternate destination, and I, have just enough little experience in EMS to know that those are big, overarching, countywide and state level terms that are used for big policy areas that we can't necessarily implement on our own without a lot of other approvals and partnerships and advocacy. And so just wondering, what can we actually do on those particular issues just at the city level that is within our control?
Regarding what's within our control, we have done most of what's within our control. So we have a paramedic. We have paramedic capabilities, advanced life support. We've introduced the MCU. We actually own an ambulance. And so there are we've really largely bumped up to the edge of what we've found we are capable of doing. What we also can do is we can work with our partners and advocate based on the needs of the community. And so while our abilities do not fully meet the needs of the community, what we can do is identify where those needs are not being met and how we can be a partner in achieving those. And I'll give you an example. One is that at this point in time, if we go out on a emergency and we engage in patient contact, the only option we have to do is to transport that patient to the ER. And we have plenty of cases just within this calendar year where those were not effective ways to treat somebody in a behavioral health emergency. And so in working with our partners at both the county and within the private ambulance system, private ambulance company, the conversation of triage to alternate destination has come up as an option. And so we pose that to the health agency director, hopefully, hearing the need for that, that could be an opportunity to where we can reduce the impact to the emergency rooms and also provide a better level of care to those in behavioral health emergencies. So what we are trying to do is be a strong advocate and position ourselves so that if those rules were to change enough, that we would be in a position to provide that level of service. Now, obviously, if the word came down tomorrow that we were allowed to do triage to alternate destination, that might change our staffing needs, that might change some other resources, but nonetheless, that could present the opportunity to provide the next level of service. And so I feel like our role at this point is to be ready for that and to continuously advocate, continuously be in the partnerships, continuously be in those conversations with our partners throughout the city or throughout the county to get to that next level.
Thank you. Kind of circling back to Councilmember Francis's questions about the insurance issues. And if I'm understanding correctly, our role in that, going back to kind of our role and what we can control and what we can't, our role seems to be to encourage property owners to get them into compliance with their own defensible space requirements and such, and maintain our own public areas to the safest level that we can for fire prevention. And then I think you said, well, we would like to see in terms of, I think you were talking about legislation and what we would like to see at the state level in terms of what insurance carriers we have or what they're required to provide. Right. So I guess my question is our role in advocacy there as well at the state level, and you're engaged in those conversations as well with other jurisdictions to try and do what we can here on the ground in terms of maintaining our own space in the safest way possible, but advocate for those types of modifications to the rules or requirements around whether or not those improvements people are making to their homes and properties actually impact their insurance rates or their ability to get insurance.
Right. And there's kind of two prongs to this. I mean, one is at the property level, taking care of your property, the intent with that is that it provides your survivability, it makes your survivability the highest when we get our next wildfire. From your fire chief's perspective, it's one of the things that keeps me up at night is, the next Bishop fire, the next Lizzie fire, where the wind changes just a little bit. And, for us, the fire departments were built around a conflagration model, back in the 1800s. I'll do a little history lesson here for a quick second. And we've largely solved that conflagration model within our urban areas. And so we don't see conflagrations within cities that start within cities. But what we see now is conflagrations that start outside the city, get into the cities, and then grow. That's the Paradise Fire, the Camp Fire. That was, Santa Rosa. It's weed back in 2012. I mean, it's fire after Lahaina. It's where an outside fire gets into the built environment, and then it becomes a conflagration. So the property level work that our homeowners can do is a vital survivability tool to our community when that wildfire happens. Now, the part that we want to try and help advocate to connect is between the insurance portion of it and the work that they're doing. So we want to encourage our community to do the work to protect their structures for the sake of the survivability of the structure. We're also trying to incorporate the insurance piece into that work and connect the dots for that. So that's where the advocacy work comes in. Meanwhile, we're doing everything in terms of building out a defensible space program to help encourage and communicate and educate, develop a vegetation management plan within the community to protect the perimeter of our community, but also the green space within it. We've got creeks that are full of combustible materials. We just saw it on Choro 2 weeks ago at the freeway. So we have work to do that is outside of whatever the insurance industry does, but we're hoping that by doing the work here and advocating up there at the state level, that we can connect the dots and create a better economic situation for our community.
Thank you. Last but not least, question about diversifying our workforce.
Sure.
I know that you have made efforts, and the chief before you, to try and diversify our firefighting workforce for a while, and we've made a little bit of progress in our maybe more so in our non-sworn positions, especially around gender balance, but just wondering what your thoughts are about further increasing the number of women in particular, or number of people of diverse cultures in our workforce.
Yeah, and it's a big question. It's actually bigger than the insurance industry question, but it's an effort that's it's important to our community. We've made that crystal clear. It's important to me personally. Hopefully I've communicated that back, but ultimately at the end of the day, actions are going to be stronger than words. We hired our first female firefighter in, I think, 3 decades, a little over a year ago. We're glad to say that all of our probationary firefighters passed probation as of this year. So we're super excited about that. And the recruitment effort really comes down to getting the word out to as many people as possible that the fire career is a possibility for them. I am an example of the fact that I didn't think this was a possibility of a career for me. I thought I was too old, believe it or not, at 27. And I just needed somebody to show me that it was okay. And so in diversifying our workforce, we have to show groups of people that are not traditionally involved in the fire service that this is a possibility, that this is a place where you can come to work and you can have a fulfilling career, have a great retirement, and you can go home fulfilled like you made a difference. And so part of our effort with the intern program is we opened it up to 6 functional areas. Historically, interns have been just suppression. Come right on the fire engine. And well, that's going to tend to attract the people that already want to be firefighters. Our effort with the 6 functional programs was that let's open the fire department up to people that may not necessarily want to be firefighters, but once they get their foot in the door and they see what's available, that then they'll say, wow, that over there looks interesting. now that they're inside the tent, so to speak, they can look at that as an opportunity and something that they can do. And so we've been very, I'm really excited about our intern program. We have 3 young women that are engaged in it. A young gentleman from, he's actually from up in the Bay Area that's involved in doing emergency management work. And I'm optimistic that, at least one of them will eventually end up wanting to be a firefighter. And if not, they are providing incredible work within the fire department. So, we're doing that on the recruitment side. And then, back to the capital question, we're also working to upgrade our fire stations to make sure that we have accommodations that are appropriate, to make sure that we have individual dorm rooms, that our restrooms are appropriate. And we have 2 capital projects slated for next fiscal year to get stations 3 and 4 up to date. And it's been advocated by my boss and the city manager, and I'm sure supported here at council to make sure that once we get we start to diversify the workforce, that they are comfortable, and this is a place they feel safe to come to work. And then what I think anybody will say is that once you kind of break the ice, that tends to beget more success. And so we're looking forward to hiring hopefully soon, and hopefully seeing a good recruitment pool of a broad base of candidates to come through and support our community.
Thank you. That all sounds wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Well, I hope I can follow through on that for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I go to Vice Mayor Pease, I was just going to say that there was a recruitment section where I felt if you had said a little bit more as far as like where the recruitment was coming from, that might be able to kind of touch upon the diversification of future recruitment. I didn't see the colleges or the universities, the high schools, the trades, the juvenile hall, the gala, or other identity-based nonprofit partners. So just kind of even the Conservation Corps, just seeing like how, spelling it out a little bit more for the community to see how that different recruitment would look, and I know already the fire department has reached out to like the athletic programs at the different schools and universities, but I just think even that's something that's kind of been happening, it's still so new that I think that still should probably be really spelled out. So just a 2 cents. Vice Mayor Pease.
Thank you, and thank you to my colleagues for the great questions and the great responses. The one that I have is really about that, the reducing the use of truck 1, and there's under goal 1A, there's a specific increasing, or it says evaluate the utilization of Medic Rescue 1 and trying to decrease that truck 1. And in some ways, I mean, so much of the fire department response is medical versus a fire. And when we've had these conversations before about why are you taking this big truck everywhere, there was kind of this, oh, it's the Swiss Army knife. We need to, and that helps a lot. I appreciate that. And so I think so I guess I'm just checking in, like, is that just kind of an evolving best practice that we could think about a different approach? I mean, it just seems like even just on the response time, that little vehicle is going to be a lot easier to get around the city. So can you just talk a little bit more about how that's going to progress?
Yes. So it was part of our budget request for this financial plan, and previous city manager was very supportive of it, to add an additional firefighter per day to staff that medic rescue full time. Unfortunately, with the floods, our entire process got thrown out of whack. So the intent is still to figure out a way to staff that. I call it the medic rescue. That's what it is. But whether it's an ambulance or another 2-person EMS unit, the idea is by staffing that additional unit, it provides us with the ability to what we call tier the calls. In other words, that we could send. I'll give you an example. In 2023, in our annual report, we went to 371 lift assists. About 50% of those are at commercial facilities. The rest are at a home, and we have one frequent caller who goes through the day, but the family can't get this individual from the car to the house, and we've been out there, probably a dozen times in the last year. And it is what it is, but that's truck one that's going out to this individual. And so we've got, this big ladder truck that's going out. Those are opportunities where we can refine our response model, and we could have a 2-person, lower profile, paramedic unit, but it's going out and it's helping the public on these lower acuity calls. And that in and of itself would be taking a load off of truck one. It would be leaving a firefighting piece of equipment. And I'm not a big fan of the Swiss Army knife model, but I know who did it, and I applaud, Chief Olson, but I'm not a big fan of that. But that's where that 2-person EMS unit can come in, and it can be a financial impact by the fact that a mile driven in a 2-person pickup truck is a lot cheaper than a mile driven in a 70,000-pound tiller ladder truck. I mean, just the math is simple. But we've asked for additional staffing to get there. So that's where the balance comes in. And I think back to the questions about the MCU and expansion is trying to, how can we kind of tie all those things together to be able to get to a point where we're responding to lower acuity calls in an apparatus that has a smaller footprint, a smaller staffing profile to improve our response due to the right resource going to the call. And as opposed to, using the Swiss Army knife, which, let's be honest, doesn't really meet the needs. So yes,
Right.
that's where I'm moving with
I
that.
could see an evolution as a city grows, you just have, there's a certain agility that there are trade-offs there. So then
Yes.
I guess my follow-up question on that in terms of what's missing, is it funding for an additional person, funding for equipment, or actually you have the funding and we just don't have the individual hired and onboarded?
It's the funding for the position. It's the funding for the additional staffing. And one of the challenges that we run into with that model with the truck one model is that truck is essential to do some very important tasks. That we have a 100-foot ladder truck to reach the highest buildings in the city. We have a 100-foot ladder truck to reach the highest buildings at Cal Poly. We have a firefighting force that you never know when we're going to need that resource. So to split the staffing on that truck really defeats the purpose. So what we really need is that additional staffing to get that EMS unit, if you will, that 2-person unit staffed in order to take on those lower acuity calls. And what we're seeing in the city as a whole is that over the last 10 years, we really started to see the volume for each unit start to pick up, such that we're running about 2,000 responses a year across each of the 4 units. So each unit is getting up near that 2,000 call mark, which is getting near their threshold of capacity. As we continue to grow, it becomes a little bit simpler to add additional resources within existing facilities, such that downtown, as it gets busier, by adding additional units within existing facilities, that's a much easier proposition than building Station 5, which is going to be a major undertaking with a new unit and a new company and new staff and all that. But as we continue to infill, it's a little easier to add additional resources to take on those lower acuity calls. So effectively, to answer your question, it is a funding issue with regard to staffing to be able to get to that point.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for answering the many questions. Appreciate the workers' comp data, since that's what I asked you for earlier, so thank you. I also appreciate you kind of bringing into light why so much focused on the training and career movement, because as I was reading the strategic plan, I thought, so we're training people to be healthy and to leave us, but really seeing that we have 30 of 45 that have been hired in the last 5 years makes a big difference. So thanks for that clarification. The MCU, I kind of wanted to go back to that a little bit more. When I look at page 207, I look at that's kind of the area I think we could talk about really spelling it out, that our goal was hopefully to expand beyond Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I know it's 7 to 7, but being that that's that's knowledge we have, knowing that we are hoping to go after some opioid money that could help us with some staffing for that unit as well. I mean, there's just as if this is only things we hope to do, then we won't be adding in, Fire Station 5. But if it's kind of what we hope to do also, then I feel like it gives us that roadmap of, we need to find more funding for more staffing, and that's what we need to do. So I just kind of wondered what was the thought process about not putting a little bit of the hopes and dreams aspiration a little bit into this. I mean, I don't want it to be completely just dreamy, because then it's not a strategic plan. But I feel like we've all been talking about that's successful. It's now solidified. It needs to grow past Monday through Friday. So I feel like it's a little more than just dreamy.
Yes, definitely. I'll kind of take this in two different directions, neither one of them direct. I apologize about that. So the first one is just anything that we put into a strategic plan that has a very specific dollar value tied to it, that says, we are going to add staffing. That obviously, then that changes this dynamic of a conversation significantly. And so, to come at it more like, this is what our aspiration is to evaluate and potentially, increase the capabilities. That helps us as we come into the budget season, right? As we come into that financial plan. The other thing I would say too is, and you mentioned the opioid money, is we're desperately trying to find every single avenue we can find to support the efforts that we're going down. So back to the county partners with behavioral health, trying to figure out how can we become a certified mobile crisis team with, CenCal funding behind it. How can we become an enhanced care management provider with CenCal money behind it to support it? How can we get grants from CAL FIRE for the, climate change initiative efforts to support our vegetation management plans, replicating the Santa Barbara model? How can we get these things in place so that we're not coming back to the general fund, coming back to the community each and every time saying, hey, the only way we're going to do this is by, more local investments. So we're really trying our best to get those investments and try to find those dollars to help stand these programs up so that the sustainable future is there for these programs, considering we know that our resources or our service levels are going to be increasing in the next 15 to 20 years with the way our general plan looks and the growth that we expect to see.
That makes sense. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's direct enough. With you mentioned the Public Safety Academy, which then made me think about so many times I get asked, when are we bringing back the CERT, the community team, emergency response team? And I don't ever have a really good answer for that, because I know we've talked about it before. It works, but it doesn't. And other communities, this is a really great opportunity. Volunteers have been so helpful. And for us, it seems as though it's not really in this one space. So tell us more.
I wish I could give you as detailed of an answer as I've given everybody else tonight, but unfortunately, I don't know the history behind it. When I first got here, James was in the emergency manager role, and his explanation is that it just didn't get really a lot of traction. So he was tending to focus his efforts on preparedness and getting out and doing the road shows and getting the community education piece going. So I wish I had a better answer. It's certainly something that once we get the emergency manager hired again, and we can look back again at that. Now that we have Kirsten Anderson as a volunteer coordinator. We've already had some discussions with her about there is a group that does volunteer wildland fuels mitigation work, and coordinating with Kirsten to maybe help some folks that are not capable of doing the work themselves to have this Team Rubicon come in and assist us once we get our vegetation management plan up and running.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. And then as far as the outreach, I was looking at also page 207. Let me get back there. Sorry. I wrote notes that didn't help all my notes. It was talking about the different partners. It's actually 208. The different partners that we are working with, but the nonprofit partners were not highlighted. So I was just thinking about being proactive around preparedness. Is there already proactive communication that happens with the affordable housing property managers and fire department, or is that completely separate? Is there some way to be a little more proactive around those multifamily units?
And are you specifically speaking towards like the Haslo and
People self-help
Haslo sites,
housing,
people
any of
self-help
those, yeah.
housing? No, there's not, and there needs to be. It's on our radar with regards to the community risk reduction piece, is looking at how we can engage with various properties that are making a lot of calls for service. Why are those calls for service being made? And the MCU is actually a really good tool for that, is for reaching out to specific areas that have a high call volume and seeing what those needs are, especially for calls like lift assist, that the MCU can go out and make that positive contact outside of the emergent event, and then try to figure out, is there other resources that could come to play that would be more advantageous for the situation, such as adult protective services or social services or outreach tools. So I think, is that kind of more in line with where you were going with that?
That's helpful, yeah, thank you.
Okay, and it's definitely on our radar as something that we want to engage with. And I would say that the providers have actually reached out to us. We had a meeting with Anderson Hotel just recently, or Haslo, with regard to potential impacts on call volume. We have I believe we have a meeting coming up with People's Self-Help Housing regarding the Calle Joaquin project. So yes, those things are starting to happen, and they are actually reaching out to us. So it's something that I would like to pursue further.
Cool, thank you. And one last question, but it's actually for the city manager. The Vice Mayor and I were chatting earlier. She was my Brown Act person. And we're wondering, with the strategic plan kind of intros, if there's a more of a consistent way that we could have that, like, here's the city background that we put in all of them versus each department having to figure out their own way of describing our history. Is that something that you think we could do in the future?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. That's an excellent question, and something that we're just discussing, that we think that that's a great approach, because we are the same community, and it's certainly something that we can work on. Happy to do that, and we'll make sure to involve the appropriate departments, including our DEI and sustainability people, and all of our folks who might want to put some input into that as well. I would like to also just kind of tag on to the discussion about some of the more aspirational components, or really direction being received from council about programs, or like a desire to increase our MCU coverage, or our kind of outreach, or efforts to kind of diversify our workforce, but also efforts to increase or change our responses and maybe alter our staffing to allow for an additional medic unit. These are all certainly things that we'll continue to look at with our department, with Chief Tuggle, while we go through our financial planning process. So just wanted to make sure you're aware. We'll certainly be talking about these operational needs for the department, but the way that they get called out in the strategic plan, I think is helpful for us to call back to, and make sure everything's kind of tied together in terms of where we see things going. So just wanted to make that mention as well.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I think that's one of our, a little bit of chicken and eggs moments, because we have this desire to be aligned to major city goals, and then major city goals and budget change, but we don't necessarily go back and align strategic plans to major city goals. And then topics will get brought to the council and say, well, as you council all decided in the strategic plan, I'm like, whoa, wait, there's something that was kind of missed. So I appreciate you mentioning that. And I think that's something that we have to keep talking about a little bit more. So in all departments, not just fire.
Yeah. Good point.
Well, without any other questions, I'll move forward to public comment.
We have none.
Okay, that was easy. All right. Vice Mayor Pease.
Great. I just have a couple of comments. I appreciate kind of that follow-up element. It seems like a lot of what the strategic plan provides the opportunity for is to, here's what we are planning on doing with kind of the where we're at right now. So it's in your control. And in terms of the aspirational, I saw those kind of keywords in there, you know, evaluate. That way we understand what would be the ideal, and it's kind of out there, and then we can make that decision at the budget. Especially, it seems like, I think that there's that consensus about the MCU, and I know we keep looking for other funding opportunities, but for us to understand, like, oh, here's a document that says here's this would be perfect. This is, the next best, here's where we are, and if we had to cut, this is what we would do, that kind of evaluation. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in there. Same with the medic conversation, especially understanding those cost trade-offs, like, ladder truck, really expensive. Let's not run that thing, out, if we don't have to. So, and I appreciate the kind of specificity there. Again, there's that, involved in the capital planning for facilities. It's like, it's spot on, right? Because that's kind of the level that you can do. But, maybe there's even a notch more, like understand and involved, with evaluation of a fifth fire station. I think we can name it without having us tied to it, right? So I don't, other than that, I think that the goals, the plans themselves, I appreciated your question early on about the tracking, because honestly, when you read the plan and the accountability is, 4 different departments and the time frame is 3 years, you're like, okay, but so it sounds like there is opportunity to have that. You're at least doing it internally once a year when we get the update, to be able to kind of turn that around and show the community, here's what we got going on. I don't think it needs to be up on a 24/7 dashboard or anything. So yeah, up to you. That seems like more work than it's worth, but it is good to know that there is a process for tracking these as individual things. We did have a conversation about kind of the language of the narrative, to maybe get that consistency. It feels like there's some kind of generic information that maybe isn't as helpful. So fewer words, I think, is promising. So, if we don't need to go there. So I have some specific comments that I'll share, and then if you do end up doing a revision, I think we'd all love to see the kind of the final version, tightening up some of that language and opportunity. So, no rush or timeline, but if it does evolve before it goes out to be posted on the website, it'd be great to tighten some of that stuff up.
Absolutely. Great.
I think that's all I have. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Shorsman.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. That kind of spurred a question for me. Does this get posted on the web somewhere, or so it's a public document that's shared widely for anybody to come and look at it, right? Okay, that's what I kind of thought. Just a comment, I think, on what's kind of been mentioned already in terms of an aspirational plan versus, what we already have the resources for to do, and whether or not this should be more aspirational, or at least include some aspirational versus be more practical based on what we have now and the resources dedicated to it. I did ask a question in the agenda correspondence about, okay, basically trying to get to, okay, what are we signing ourselves up for in terms of adding resources? So I personally really do appreciate that, that, as the Vice Mayor said, this is kind of based on what we have now and what direction has been given so far. And if there are other things that need to happen or that are aspirational in the future, that it come to that council at that time, based on the examination that you've done as outlined in the strategic strategic tasks in this plan, and then let that council decide where we're going, and if we're gonna, because it's all priorities at that point. When you're talking about budgeting, it's all, finite resources and where our priorities are. Just a few comments about just sort of the layout and the content of the plan. I do tend to like some of our other strategic plans that have just like a table at the end that say, you know, check done, or this is a new item to be completed, you know, fall of 95 or whatever the time frame is. That can be a little more aspirational than maybe the plan itself, but just, you know, to maybe be able to tell us what the plan is and when we anticipate doing things, and if they're already done. I like a checklist myself personally, so I like to be able to say when I've checked something off the list. And then also, I asked a lot of questions in agenda correspondence and you answered them. Thank you. There's a lot of terminology. If this is a public document, I think it would be helpful to have a few footnotes explaining what some of the technical terms are.
Okay.
Quint, or a glossary, or, you know, what is fire truck one? I mean, I think we know now after discussing this what fire truck one is, but just a little bit of clarity for the reader that isn't here tonight. And then just a comment on, you know, kind of going back to our diversity, equity, and inclusion goals as a city and the emergency preparedness aspects of the plan. There are a lot of organizations out there that I feel like, you know, if we're talking about doing community preparedness education, there are state level groups like Listos California that does a lot of Spanish speaking preparedness planning activities for monolingual Spanish speakers. And so maybe we can draw upon some of those resources rather than, you know, spend our own or create, you know, our own resources to make sure that we're inclusive of those groups. And then, of course, if we're going to be doing outreach in community education, we obviously have a lot of Diversity Coalition, Race Matters Slow, Gala groups that might want to participate in a partnership to help educate their constituencies on how to create an emergency kit. So just a suggestion.
No, that's very helpful. Thank you.
But great. I do like the idea also of, you know, standardizing some of the language in the beginning and maybe the look of the org charts and that sort of thing. I think maybe it'll make things easier in the future. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you. I appreciate the recommendations. We'll take in good notes and we'll make sure we get that taken care of.
Yeah, thank you. I just really want to pipe in on the accountability checklist kind of thing. I do think it's really helpful, and I think I guess today, this plan reminded me so much of, we could just have some consistency with some of these templates that might make it a little bit easier for yourself as well, as you know, in addition to the community. So just really wanted to thank you for all this time. I know one of the things that we talk about is a receive and file, so we don't really have to vote on anything, but I really also want to chime in on or encourage what Vice Mayor said. It was seeing a memo or something with the updated, hey, here's the updated changes we've made based on the notes. That would be helpful before it goes to the public, and make sure, public website, and make sure that we got some of our feedback correctly shared versus maybe I went, oh, I meant that differently. So.
Okay. Absolutely. Well, I do appreciate the questions, and it's as much as we got internal and external stakeholder feedback, it's really powerful to get your questions, which are obviously coming from the community, and help steer and guide the efforts in the next 5 years. And quite frankly, I've got so much good stuff in here that are recommendations to make this thing better and more effective. And one of the notes I have is to include a wrap up in the annual report that says, you know, hey, where are we at? So thank you very much for all the comments and the questions and the encouragement. It's really, it's good. It feels good to be your chief, and I appreciate having the honor to sit here in front of you and present tonight. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Right.
And we will take a 10-minute break and be back at 7:45. Well, welcome back. I hope you all enjoyed your break, and we will move forward to item 7B, which is the adopting a resolution and introduction of an ordinance to establish an impact fee deferral program for eligible affordable housing projects.
Mayor and members of the council. I'm Teresa McClish, Principal Planner and on the housing team here for the city. And I'm happy tonight to introduce David Amini, who's our new housing coordinator. David comes to us with experience in the affordable housing industry, and we're very happy to have him aboard and help us with our ambitious housing goals. Tonight, David's going to present an update to a city program for the deferral of impact fees. And David.
Madam Mayor and members of City Council, my name is David Amini. I'm here tonight to present our impact fee deferral ordinance, resolution, and program update. So staff's recommendation this evening is for council to adopt a draft resolution and ordinance that will formalize the existing practice of granting impact fee deferrals to eligible affordable housing projects. We also recommend that council authorize the Community Development Director to approve applications for impact fee deferrals and execute the necessary agreements in forms approved by the City Attorney's Office. The Director may refer approvals to City Council on an as-needed basis or combine approvals of fee deferrals concurrently with Affordable Housing Fund awards for a particular project. So granting impact fee deferrals to affordable housing projects is an existing city practice. This has been authorized through several council resolutions over the last 2 decades. The resolution presented before you tonight will supersede Resolution 9903, continuing the practice of fee deferral while providing needed updates to the program. So the city's existing practice of granting impact fee deferrals helps to accelerate the production of below market rate, and that's low income and below units, especially those constructed by affordable housing developers using tax credits. And over the last decade, 300 units of housing across 8 projects in the city, which you can see in the photos on these slides, have been constructed with the assistance of impact fee deferrals and tax credit fundings. About $5 million total in fees have been deferred through the city's existing practice, and this has assisted developers to leverage over $60 million in tax credit equity to construct these 8 projects. The current resolution from 2007 regarding impact fee deferrals allows for the option for project impact fees to be waived altogether, along with the option to defer. Staff has chosen to grant impact fee deferral loans, which ensure repayment of the impact fees over a defined period of time. The terms of existing impact fee deferral loans range from 30 to 55 years, with fixed interest rates ranging from 3 to 4%. Staff has identified the need to update the fee deferral program through the draft ordinance and resolution before you tonight to improve clarity and establish a clear timeline for the fee deferral process. Under the updated program, developers will now have an application, guidance, and procedures available for securing deferrals. And eligible projects include for-rent housing projects that provide units at low income or below in excess of the inclusionary requirement, as well as for-rent projects built by a government agency or a nonprofit organization. The program will formally remove the option to waive impact fees. All impact fee deferral loans executed under the new program will have a defined 20-year repayment term and a 3% simple fixed interest rate. This will ensure timely repayment of impact fees and minimize the fiscal impact on the city's impact fee funds. The resolution will remove the provision applying fee waivers for ADUs, as impact fees for ADUs are now governed by state law. And here's a list of the specific impact fees that will be eligible for deferral under the city's program. The city does not currently charge a general government impact fee. However, this option is remaining in case it is considered to be charged in the future. Water and wastewater base fees are excluded from deferral as it could cause a financial impact to city ratepayers. Staff consulted developers of affordable housing projects for this program who voiced their support for continued fee deferrals through the update. They concurred with the proposed loan term and the process for requesting deferral. The impact fee deferral program is consistent with the major city goals for housing and homelessness. It is also consistent with programs identified in the housing element that incentivize the creation of tax credit funding funded for rent affordable housing developments. The proposed resolution and ordinance are exempt from the requirements of CEQA as they do not meet the definition of a project under the guidelines, and any project that would be granted an impact fee deferral loan under the ordinance would be subject to applicable environmental review under CEQA. And again, the recommendation is for council to adopt the draft resolution, introduce the draft ordinance, and authorize the Community Development Director to approve applications for impact fee deferrals and execute the necessary agreements. That concludes my presentation tonight, and now I open the floor to any questions or discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a very quick summary, but we really appreciate that. And also really appreciate your additional agenda correspondence, really clarifying the for rent, but yet the wastewater and water fees are not waived or not deferred. So I think that's really important for people to know as well. So thank you for that. I do not have any additional questions at this time. Do you all colleagues? No? Okay. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, we have one speaker, Scott Collins.
Great.
Madam Mayor and council members, Scott Collins, Executive Director for HASLO. I just wanted to extend our thanks to your staff for reaching out to us to discuss this program. As been mentioned in your PowerPoint presentation from staff, this is an incredibly important component of our overall funding package to be competitive on the market for tax credits. That's how we build our projects, all of them effectively. We understand the need to balance the loan provisions against the need for the financial support of what you're trying to do as a community. In the past, those fees have typically been waived at the end, but we understand that that's probably not in the best interest of the city long term. So moving forward, when we take on new projects, that'll be built into our pro formas, and I don't think that's going to be a significant problem. We have talked to your staff about the projects that are currently in the pipeline, such as Maxine Lewis, and the bridge projects are already under construction, and Monterey Senior Project would be 50 units for seniors on the corner of Monterey and California. That the old approach would still be in play for those, so that ensures that we can see this project to financial closing at the end of November and begin construction in December of this year. So really appreciate your staff kind of going that extra mile to make sure we're still in compliance with what we've agreed to with our partners who are financing this project. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying the current projects part as well. Vice Mayor Pease.
Thank you. Could you maybe just clarify the kind of what is currently already in commitment, and were any of those actual waivers, or they were all deferrals, but just under different terms, longer duration, et cetera?
So all the deferrals that have been granted to projects that are under construction or kind of in the beginning phases so far, those are all in the form of a loan. And I believe the term for 2 of them is a 30-year term, and then 1 of them is a 55-year compliance term. But they're all loans. There are no waivers currently in process.
Terrific. And are there other ones outside of HASLO, or those are the 3?
I believe that's all that we have currently in the pipeline.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm super supportive of the program and really appreciative of the, the best practice of getting clarity in writing so it's not, an unknown. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Councilmember Marks.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very supportive of this as well. I think it makes a lot of sense to kind of regularize the process and still encouraging and supporting affordable housing. But I also just wanted to clarify, this only applies to multifamily rental projects. Is that correct?
Yes, that's in the guidelines that it's for rent housing projects, and
Right.
primarily targeted towards multifamily.
Right. Yeah. I did have a question about the repayment. So when they do have to repay these fees that have been out there for 50 years, is it a lump sum, or how do they then get to make monthly payments on the deferral, or how does it actually work, practically speaking?
The loan repayment is typically due as a lump sum with the amount of interest due at the maturity date of the loan. I don't think we've ever seen like a monthly payments incorporated into the repayment strategy, but that's certainly something that we could integrate into the program if it's desired.
Yeah, I'm just curious. It could be very expensive. Yeah.
I think the idea is they will be refinancing at the end of their term and allow for the loan to be paid off under this program for the city. Yep.
Yes, it'll be rolled into the new loan. Good. Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm very supportive of this.
Thank you. That was a question I had as well, similar to tracking. Councilmember Shorsman.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that question as well. I was kind of wondering, okay, so how does that actually work in the end? So, I mean, this seems like a good idea. It kind of regularizes the funding stream and makes clarity and simplicity and consistency for the developer as well as for the city to know when that money is going to come in, because we obviously need that. We need that funding to implement all of the things that it's meant to cover: parks and police and transportation impacts and fire impacts. And so I guess just to make sure that we're thinking this through, is there any that you can foresee, any negative impacts from changing the way we've been doing it to the current proposal?
The current proposal, by defining the repayment period to 20 years for the loans, I think will actually provide a net benefit to executing these fee deferrals, and it's going to enable our finance and internal departments to accurately project these repayments in a more streamlined way, rather than having a variety of different loans with different maturity dates, different interest rates. This kind of streamlines everything.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure. And I'm happy to move approval whenever we're ready.
Thank you. Councilmember Francis.
Yeah, super appreciative of the cleanup on this, and anything we can do to get consistency across program, I think is a huge benefit. And thank you to the nonprofit partners for coming and speaking to their position on it. I think it's really helpful for us to hear, and all your clarifying questions. Happy to second this when it's appropriate.
Great. Well, I don't need to belabor the point, but I am very supportive as well, and really appreciate how you've operationalized this and made this in a way that makes sense for everybody. So thank you. And thanks for the outreach as well to those involved. Councilmember Shorsman.
I will move approval of staff's recommendation.
Great. Councilmember Francis.
I will second.
Can we have roll call?
Councilmember Shorsman?
Yes.
Councilmember Francis?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pease?
Yes.
Mayor Stewart?
Yes, the motion passes 5-0. Thank you so much.
Very good. And welcome. Welcome to the city. Yeah, it's great.
Okay, well, next we have the council communications / liaison section. We had talked about in the past special meeting, brown bag meeting, that we would have all of our, why am I thinking, no, but the actual nonprofits that we sit on, or the boards that we sit on, be part of this agenda. So for the future, I don't see that. Oh, they're not on my script. Sorry, thank you. All right. That makes so much more sense. One moment, please. Okay, never mind. So we've changed this, and Lovely is sharing which committees we are on, so that way you know what we're doing a report out on, short of a few other items we may end up reporting on as well. And so as far as myself, as you can see, these appointments, the only thing we have is coming up is the City University quarterly meeting is next week. And so we'll be chatting about that next week. Also, just wanted to share that I did attend the CASA event, fundraising event / celebratory annual report out. And it was a really good event and a little bit concerning because we've lost some money in our different communities due to the Violence Act not being voted on as the federal government level. So CASA is really needing the extra support, such as also Lumina and other organizations that actually try to help people that are experiencing abuse and other issues. Also, I was able to meet with our regional representative for the Anti-Defamation League on Monday, and just wanted to highlight that we had some really great conversations as we talk about how do we support our community, the anti-Semitism and the anti-Islam and the Islamophobia, has just continued to increase. And there may be ways the Anti-Defamation League can help us with anonymous reporting in addition to the city, because some people just don't want to report to the city. So no matter how much we try to make it easy and helpful and anonymous, or to the police if necessary, there's just people that don't want to do that. So this has been another way that people can report, and I look forward to how we can share that out. And then lastly, just had so many Cal Poly meetings. The ASI new student leaders are here, and they're back, and they're ready, and they're really excited to be part of this community and to be part of our city council, not the council itself, but really connecting with us all. So just want to share that, and I will move it on to Vice Mayor Pease.
Thank you. I think the items of note that I wanted to share is that Downtown SLO on the board, that they have both the Downtown SLO board, but also the nonprofit Friends of Downtown SLO. And I just wanted to lift up, it's been in place for a long time, but they're really trying to activate it differently because that's their nonprofit arm if folks want to contribute. So the Fall Fest, which is a fun event, cider, shopping auction on September 29th. There are ticket sales, but it's a fundraiser specifically for the Friends of Downtown. So it's just wanted to make folks aware of the differentiation on that one.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Francis.
Nothing to report for liaison reports.
Okie dokie. Councilmember Marks.
Thank you. So are we just doing the liaison reports and then we're going to come back? We're doing both?
We're doing both right now, and at our next meeting on the 1st, we'll separate that.
Oh, good. Okay. So I'm going to start out with the Air Pollution Control District meeting, which is coming up on the 18th, and Councilmember Francis is going, as my alternate, is going to attend. It's going to be a great meeting. We already heard about the Drive Electric Week, which is coming up, which is also an APCD project. And also on the agenda is a grant that we've gotten locally to provide for people who own gas-powered lawn equipment like leaf blowers and chainsaws and hedgers, I don't know what you call them. Anyway, anything that has to do with landscaping, if they have a gas-powered machine, they can bring it in and get a straight swap for an electric one. Nice. It won't cost them a thing. The only problem is that they're going to run out of money. I think it's just $217,000, so it's going to happen really fast, but it's kind of a foot in the door in that direction. With the Integrated Waste Management Authority, we did at the last meeting approve the purchase of a new office building at 555 Choro. It's just on the other side of the freeway overpass that has the public art on it. It's a complex in the back. And so we will be able to have all of our staff in one office. Right now they're in two places. So they will be closing escrow on that. It will probably take until December to renovate the building so that they can actually make the move. And then the next step is going to be to sell that cute little building across the street. So that's what's happening there. With the Airport Land Use Commission, the next meeting is canceled, so that's all. At the last meeting, there was an approval of a Verizon cell tower near the Paso airport. On Central Coast Clean Energy, 3CE, Community Energy it should be, Central Coast Community Energy. Oh, clean is good too, but community is what it's called. So tomorrow, the city manager and I are going to be going up to Aptos for the annual meeting. It'll be tomorrow and Thursday. I'm coming back Thursday afternoon, right? Good. And that's going to be an interesting meeting. There will not be an item to eliminate a lot of cities from the various boards because that item's been taken off the agenda, which is considered a minor trump. And I have to say that the local climate change community is very happy about that. In terms of different activities, on September 5th, I've been very involved with supporting the designation of the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary. And on September 5th, the environmental determination was sent out by NOAA, and that starts a 30-day period, at which time it will then go to the Governor Newsom, and also to the Senate. And if the Senate signs off on it and the governor does, then it will be designated, will exist. And then there's the big challenge of like, okay, now we have it, now what do we do with it? So it's gonna, but it's going to be launched. So that's a very exciting, it's the first marine sanctuary that's been nominated and instigated by an indigenous group of people in the whole world. And so throughout the world now, our little corner of paradise is very, very famous right now. Then I did go to the Slow Climate Action Coalition, Slow Climate Coalition picnic party on the 13th of September. Was really well attended, but in Meadow Park, which was a great venue. It was lots of families, lots of dogs, lots of food. It was just really wonderful. And then that was on the 13th, and then yesterday, some of us went to the Cal Poly convocation. And as usual, it's just very moving. You get all these wonderful faculty and staff getting all these awards. The thing that I found the most interesting about what President Armstrong was talking about was the upcoming, what I want to say, kind of merger of Cal Poly and the Marine, what is it? Maritime, which is a separate institution, and the Board of Trustees has to approve it, but the Chancellor has asked Cal Poly to more or less absorb the functions. And not only that, but also the campus. So they're going to have the campus. They're going to have a lot of big ships, really big ships. And I don't know exactly what that's going to do. However, once again, President Armstrong, excuse me, emphasized that Cal Poly has to grow in terms of enrollment. And he made a big point about saying, and we're going to do that by going to year-round classes, so that there will be summer classes as well as just during the academic year. So their hope or their intention is that it will not be such a big impact on the city, on the community, in that they will increase the numbers, but they will spread. They will have a whole new quarter during the summer. I don't know exactly how it's going to work out because they're moving to the semester system, but they're talking about a new quarter. Anyway, enough of that. It was really a good thing to do, and that's all I have right now.
Thank you, Councilmember Schwarzman.
Yes, so 3 out of my 4 appointments, liaison appointments, have had activity the last couple of weeks. Last week, we had a Zone 9 Advisory Committee meeting, and there's what's really going on there is the preparations for the Mid-Higuera bypass and the, moving forward of trying to get all the permits and land acquisitions and right-of-ways and all of that taken care of, so that they can hopefully get moving on the actual work of the project in the next several months. I think they're talking about late fall, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. And then let's see what else. Climate Coalition, I saw you from across across the lawn at Meadow Park at the Climate Coalition party on Friday night, and they also have a regularly scheduled meeting this Thursday evening at Ludwig Center, their regular monthly meeting. They've took the summer off, so they're getting back into action with their new executive director. I think this will be her first official meeting in her capacity, Laura, that was here speaking to us tonight. And then, let me see, what's my other appointment? Homeless Services Oversight Committee. How could I forget? We have a meeting tomorrow. There's a lot going on there as well, because some of the regular funding streams that fund a lot of the homeless services are up right now, and they have several RFPs active out in the field. So there will be some discussion tomorrow about some of those funding sources, both building funds and ongoing support for some of the regular services that the COC Continuum of Care has been funding for quite some time. It's all funding through HUD, CSBG, and other funding sources. So that meeting is tomorrow at 1 at Department of Social Services.
Nice, thank you so much. And I also forgot to mention that I saw many of you at the 9/11 memorial, and really appreciate the fire department for doing that memorial, and also really appreciate the 2 young high school students who got to, and the Laguna Middle School student who shared their poem and their essays. It was just really amazing and heartwarming, and also brought back a lot of memories. So. And I don't think any of us talked about the ribbon cutting from North Truro Greenway. I think we're trying to streamline this so smoothly that all of us were there at the North Truro Greenway ribbon cutting, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of our staff members and colleagues and all of us got there with our bikes, and it was quite an experience to see all those people there all at once, all in one small space. So thank you for the community for making that happen. Thank you to the staff for making that huge project happen. And I know it's been a challenge, but I know it's also been very good. So, well, our next regularly scheduled meeting is October 1st. We will be starting off with a closed session at 4:30 and then moving forward at 5:30 for our regular scheduled meeting here. Thank you so much and have a great night.